2018 Silicon Valley Agtech Conference, our 5th annual event, and we just finished up our lunch keynote speaker, Can Agriculture Save the Planet Before It Destroys It, by Jack Bobo, Senior Vice President of Global Policy and Government Affairs for Intrexon. So Jack, thanks for coming here today all the way out from Washington, D.C. for our talk. So let me ask you, you gave a really interesting summary of what food used to be like and what it's like today. What do you think the future is going to hold? What is the future of food based on what you're seeing out in the center of the policy universe in Washington?
Well, I'm really excited for this topic. When I started working on food 15 years ago, it was not something that was going to make the front page of the New York Times or the Washington Post, but I think food is really sexy now. People are excited about it, they want to hear about it, and that's good because food has one of the biggest impacts on the planet, and we need to figure out ways of feeding people nutritiously and sustainably if we're going to make this work.
You know, one of the things you talked about was about the environmental impact of agriculture on the economy and on the world. Are we seeing agriculture have less of a footprint, an environmental footprint in the world, and is technology making strides to change that?
Well, on one hand, it's having a bigger impact on the planet because 40% of all the land on the planet is used for agriculture. The amount of cropland is the size of South America, the amount of pasture land is the size of Africa. So that's a pretty big footprint. On the other hand, if you talk about the story of productivity, well, there it's an amazing story. The amount of water we used to produce a kilogram of beef back in 1980 was 20 to 30,000 liters of water. Today it's 10 to 15,000. Now that's still too much, but we use half the water to produce a bushel of corn today than we did back then. So things are getting better. The question is, are they getting better fast enough for the problems we face?
And do you feel like technology is solving those problems, or is it better management systems or economies of scale? What is contributing to the fact that things are getting better?
Well, it's all of the above. Innovation is playing an incredible role. The quality of the seed, the quality of the farm machinery, the amount of big data that's being used, the agricultural practices. You know, farmers are the first conservationists. You know, if you can find technology that allows them to produce more in a sustainable way that helps them protect their farm and their family, they're going to adopt it. And so many of the recent technologies have been adopted at an incredible rate, and that's important because the planet is adding 1 billion people every 12 years. We need more food that's produced in the right way.
Yeah, so last question about that. You just mentioned something about food security, and that seems to be driving, we hear that a lot, but what is really driving the changes? Is it a difference in public perception, or is it coming from farmers changing their attitudes about how they need to farm? Is it maybe government regulation? You've convinced me there are a lot of changes happening. I'm wondering what the big driver is.
So changes are different in different places. So in the United States, we've gone from the 1950s where people just wanted to have enough to eat to the 1980s where they wanted better quality foods and more choice, to today where they want to know the provenance of the food. It's not just about the choice of the food, but they want to know what is the story of that food. And so people's expectations about their food have changed over time. But around the world, many people still need enough to eat and enough nutrition. And so there are different stories playing out in different places, and that's putting challenges on the food system. If you look at the United States, we produce about $140 billion worth of exports of food. Europe produces $140 billion of exports. Well, we're exporting wheat, corn, and soy. They're exporting beer, wine, whiskey, and cheese. Now, I like my beer, wine, whiskey, and cheese, but we're feeding the 99% while they're feeding the 1%. Both important, but different impact.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Jack, for being here today. Again, Royse from the 2018 Silicon Valley Agtech Conference.